Come on in. I'm Dr. Frita, and I'm here giving you more celebrity health news and the hot health topics in the headlines. Today, I'm talking to you about the 27-year-old person who took the lives of 4 people in Manhattan, and he claims that he has CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. I want you to weigh in. Based on what's going on with this young man, do you think that he had CTE? We're going to talk about it. I'll give you the signs, the symptoms, the causes, the risk factors for CTE. And then we'll talk about a tragic story. There was a 12-year-old young boy who was vacationing. He was swimming in the lake just like everybody else over the summer. And he unfortunately had a brain-eating amoeba cause him a very serious brain disease. And now this 12-year-old has passed away. And so I'll talk to you about Naegleria fowleri, the brain-eating amoeba, where it is, how to prevent having it, what are the signs and the symptoms. And I'll give you some shocking details on the life expectancy of people who actually get this infection. And then we'll round it out talking about Fat Joe. Y'all know Fat Joe, the rapper, the actor. Yes, he's lost 200 pounds. He still calls himself Fat Joe. But here's what's interesting. He shared that he drinks 30 to 40 diet sodas a day. Now, I know diet sodas have typically no calories, and so they can help you with managing diabetes and weight gain, but 30 to 40 diet sodas, is there a problem? Let's get into talking about artificial sweeteners. Is there a danger? Are diet sodas actually better than regular sodas? You tell me what you think. All right, go ahead and give us a like, a subscribe, and hit that notification bell as we get started, because I'm Dr. Frita, and I'm giving you some evidence-based medicine about celebrity health news and hot health topics in the headlines. All right, let's start with CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. A 27-year-old man drove all the way from Las Vegas to New York. He went into a skyscraper in Manhattan, and he took the lives of 4 people, injured others, and then he turned his firearm on himself. He left a note saying that he believes that he has CTE and he wants his brain studied. Now, this man did reportedly play football in his youth, but according to reports, he never even played for the NFL. And this Manhattan skyscraper where he committed the crime actually had offices for the National Football League. It had NFL offices, and so he has a great grievance with that. He even mentioned an NFL player who took his own life and who ended up having CTE, Terry Long. And so he's really, he expressed grievances against the NFL. And of the lives he took, one of them was actually a 36-year-old NYPD worker who has 2 children, and his wife is pregnant right now. And so it's tragic. It's, a huge violence, and he's blaming CTE.
Police sources tell ABC News that this suspect had a note in his pocket claiming he suffered from CTE. Police also say he had a documented mental health history and that he played high school football. What was your reaction when you heard about all of this?
Well, my heart goes out to the victims and their families. And when I read about it, I immediately thought of the fact that we've seen a lot of this with former football players. We think of Aaron Hernandez or Phillip Adams or Javon Belcher, all NFL players in their 20s and 30s. That were involved in murder, suicides. All of them had CTE. So I understand why this conversation is happening. And it's something that we need to investigate further, because it's becoming more and more of a public health issue, because we've seen this over and over and over again.
Let's talk about CTE. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy. What it is it's a degenerative brain disorder caused by multiple repeated brain injuries, okay? And it's not actually diagnosed until one has already passed away by autopsy, but the risk factor is just getting head injuries over and over again. And so in sports like football, hockey, in boxing, they used to call it being punch drunk. Also, many people in military can get CTE, and even people who are victims of domestic physical violence who get repeated head trauma could get CTE. What happens is this: the brain cells or the neurons literally die or degenerate after the multiple injury, and then your brain tissue atrophies. You get cerebral atrophy, and you also get a buildup of a certain protein, tau, around the blood vessels. All of this can lead to cognitive issues, mood issues, behavioral issues, okay? And so it can cause issues with memory, issues with executive functioning, like not being able to remember how to write a check or not being able to remember multi-step directions in cooking. It can cause depression, anxiety, irritability, aggression, and it's believed to have different symptoms depending on age groups. So for people in the 20s to 30s, primarily depression, anxiety, a loss of impulse control, and aggression. And then as people progress to older ages, like over the age of 60, you start to see more of the cognitive decline, memory loss, signs of dementia similar to Alzheimer's. And so we do know of many people who have been diagnosed, but again, the diagnosis is postmortem, okay, by brain autopsy. So in this man, he's declaring that he has CTE. And again, reportedly, he played football in his youth, but he didn't even play for the NFL. So I want you to tell me after we finish talking about this, do you believe that this 27-year-old man had CTE? The other question I want to ask is this. For a lot of us, we have our kids in sports. I have had my kids in tackle football, my son and my daughter. Knowing about CTE and its prevalence, which we're about to get into, would you still let your kid play tackle football, hockey, or does this change? Do you let your kids play football? What do you do? Do you do the tackle heads up? What are precautions you take? Are you worried about it? Or are you like YOLO, you only live once? Tell me what you think, because I'll tell you right now, my kids don't play tackle football. Thankfully, it was their choice, but there wasn't a moment when they were out there playing, my son and my daughter, where I wasn't worried about it. Hey, make sure you check out some of my information on social media at Dr.Frita, where I used to list my kids playing, and you'll see videos of my son and my daughter literally playing tackle football. And for those of you who are new to me, I am Dr. Frita. I'm an MD who has been quadruple board certified. I'm a board certified nephrologist. I have also been board certified in internal medicine, pediatrics, obesity medicine. And by nephrologist, I mean I'm a board certified kidney doctor and a high blood pressure doctor. So I love to talk a lot about a lot. I read medical journals every single day, and then I come back and I share the information with you. And I want to give a special thank you to my YouTube subscribers, because we have over 880,000 subscribers. So please go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Help us get to 900,000 subscribers. And then, honey, let's keep on going. Let's get to 1 million. All right. So back to the CTE. So yes, in addition to just the regular repeated head injuries like concussion, another thing that will put you at risk for CTE is second impact injury. So by that, if you get a concussion and then before the concussion has time to heal, you go back out there and you get another head injury. That's a second impact injury, and that's believed to increase one's risk for CTE. We saw that with the Miami Dolphins player, Tua, okay? Tua Tagovailoa. If you go and you look at my playlist here on YouTube, television appearances, Dr. Frita playlist, television appearances, you'll see where I've been on multiple national news shows. And if you put in Dr. Frita Tua or Dr. Frita concussion, then you'll see where in real time actually came on and I talked about no-go signs and the concussion protocol and how it actually changed in the NFL after Tua's injuries, TUA. At any rate, I also have other shows I've been on. Of course, I've been on News Nation, that national news show, the Emmy award-winning Paternity Court, HLN, 11 Alive, NBC, CBS, Revolt TV, The Griot, a whole lot of things. Truth Talks Live. Anyway, check out my playlist. All right. So that's that on CTE. So what do we talk about? The signs and the symptoms. So I did mention those signs and symptoms, the aggression. A lot of people with CTE, there's a high association with taking your own life. Okay. We see that with this man, but again, it's not official, his diagnosis, if he even had CTE, but we see taking your own life. We see aggression. We see homicide with people who have CTE. And again, they can have Parkinson's-like syndrome. They can have problems with speech, with mood, depression, anxiety, irritability, loss of impulse control, all of these things from repeated head injury. And there have been many studies of the brains of football players that have been studied. Over 300 brains have been studied. 91% of those brains showed CTE in football players. Now, this does not necessarily mean that 91% of the people who play football will get CTE, because this could be skewed, right? Meaning there could be a bias for the brains that have been studied. They may have been suspicious of CTE anyway, but that's what the research is showing right now. of the brains that have been studied, 91% of the football players' brains have had CTE. Take that information. Tell me what you think about letting your kids play football. All right. So this next story brings me no joy, of course. A wonderful, beautiful 12-year-old young boy who was swimming in a lake has now passed away because he got a brain-eating amoeba. He got primary amoebic meningoencephalitis.
A warning from the parents of a 12-year-old boy who, listen to this, he died after swimming in a popular South Carolina lake. Doctors say a parasite in the water led to an infection that is rare but extremely deadly.
Jason's parents, Ebony and Clarence Carr, are calling on state lawmakers to revise policies and do more testing on the waterways here in the state of North or South Carolina. And they're also calling for more public reporting of the infection of the organism that killed their son. They're also looking to raise awareness so that no family has to go through what they are.
No one should have to assume their child might not come back from just swimming and having fun with friends.
12-year-old Jason Carr was enjoying summer before the July 4th holiday, swimming in South Carolina's Lake Murray, about 15 miles outside Columbia. Days later, he told his parents he had a headache.
He's never complains about anything, so we knew when he started complaining that something was wrong.
Clarence and Ebony Carr gave him some medication. The next day, they took Jason to the hospital, where he was able to walk in on his own. He died 2 weeks later.
Hindsight 2020, this was no headache. He was being attacked.
Carr was infected with Naegleria fowleri, a brain-eating amoeba found in warm fresh water, like lakes or rivers. It enters through the nose, usually when someone jumps or dives in the water. The Centers for Disease Control reports fewer than 10 cases each year in the U.S., but nearly all are fatal.
So what happens is this amoeba, Naegleria fowleri, it lives in fresh water, warm, hot water, hot springs, lakes, ponds. It can even live in tap water, okay? And so beyond it, you getting it from breathing in the amoeba up your nose if you're swimming in a lake. You can also get it if you use a neti pot, right, with tap water that's infected. That's happened before. You can get this brain-eating amoeba and you'll likely pass away. That's just a likelihood because 97% of the people who get this infection pass away, sadly. And so this young boy swimming in a hot lake and apparently breathed water up his nose. The amoeba goes through your nose into your brain and it causes high fever, confusion. It can cause coma. It can cause seizures, nausea, vomiting, and ultimately it can cause you to pass away. The symptoms usually occur, or death actually occurs anywhere from 1 to 18 days after exposure. And usually by 5 days, people pass away. So it's pretty rare. Less than 10 people a year get this infection, but of those people, most passed away. If we look back into the mid-1960s, from the mid-1960s through 2024, there have been 167 documented cases of this brain-eating amoeba, and of those, only 4 have survived. Okay. Now, treatment. It's difficult for us to have really great research on treatment because people pass away so quickly. But we do believe that there are certain antimicrobials, like anti-amoeba medicines, that could help. It's just, again, difficult to know because the symptoms hit so quickly. And so the best thing is going to be for us to try to prevent it, right? So here's how you prevent this brain-eating amoeba. First, knowing that it exists. I took my kids swimming at a lake, okay? I went with some cousins, and yes, I sat there and preached about Naegleria fowleri, and I talked about the brain-eating amoeba and told them things to do to avoid getting it. Yes, I'm a good time on vacation. I am. But sometimes people say I'm a fun snatcher because I'm always talking about infectious diseases. Anyway, so here's what you do. Because this brain-eating amoeba tends to live like kind of in shallow waters. Try not to kick up the dirt in the shallow water of a pond or a lake, because that can really release the amoeba and make it more likely that you're going to breathe them in your nose. The other thing is try not to put your head underwater. Keep your head above water. That way you're less likely to breathe the brain-eating amoeba up your nose. If you must put your head underwater, if you just really insist, then make sure that you plug your nose. Okay, do this. Or actually purchase nose plugs, okay, to keep your nose shut. The good news is that if you mess around and get water in your mouth and you swallow the water, You can't get this brain-eating amoeba that way. You have to breathe it up your nose in order for it to get to that path to your brain, okay? So you won't get it from swallowing. When it comes to the neti pot, okay, put in the chat if you use neti pots, if you like to clean out your sinuses with the neti pot, put in there. I'm not saying that you can't use a neti pot, but if you're going to use tap water, it is recommended that you boil the water and then let it cool. Okay, boiling hot temperatures can take care of this Naegleria fowleri. Okay, it can take care of this brain-eating amoeba. Or just use distilled water, okay? Water that's been distilled, that's properly cleaned. Swimming pools. Now, properly chlorinated swimming pools should not have the brain-eating amoeba, but if you're at a pool or a splash pad and they did not do a good job with the chlorination, then you can get it. And if you breathe it up your nose, that's it. You have it. So again, 97% of the people who get this infection pass away. Like, unfortunately, this 12-year-old sweet little young boy passed away. And so prevention is key. Please make sure that you share this video, share this information, especially with anyone who's hanging out at lakes, ponds, and people you know who do neti pots. It's a real thing. And of course, here on the Dr. Frita channel, I like to give you information so that you can share it and help your loved ones to advocate for themselves and live their happiest, healthiest lives. I want you to live your happiest, healthiest life too. All right. If you haven't already, please go ahead and hit that like button as we get into this last story. This last one is about Fat Joe. Fat Joe, who's really not too much living with obesity now since he lost 200 pounds. Yeah, he shared that he used Ozempic and he cut his carbs to lose the weight. And so he's been very open about that journey. And so, listen, I mentioned I'm a board certified obesity medicine specialist. So when you're finished watching this live, do check out some of my videos. And if you have any questions for me, you can always join me. Go to drfrita.com and you can book a telehealth concierge service where I give you a one-on-one conversation, history, and I give you information based on all of my specialties. We have a good time. All right. So Fat Joe, he was sharing that he did a stint in jail, okay, in the big house, I think back in 2013, and he was drinking 30 to 40 diet sodas a day. Say what?
Get along, get money, let's have fun. They're keeping you healthy, right? Because I worry about you because you drink a lot, right? And I don't know how safe that is. I'm not a doctor. I don't give a fuck. I drink too many Diet Pepsis.
A lot.
You know what I'm saying? Very, very much. I got a problem. 30, 40 a day. Let me tell you something. Damn. If I went to the doctor, God forbid, and they tell me, yo, you have a problem due to Diet Pepsi, I got to take the shit on the chin. I got to just be like, I knew I was just doing too much with them Diet Pepsis, right? So.
Are you going to hit one when you leave the doctor?
I'm drinking it now immediately. They're not stopping me.
No,
I was in jail with 1,000 Diet Pepsis. Imagine you in jail, you can't have nothing else, but Diet Pepsi's illegal. Holy shit. That's like you a cigarette. I had Diet Pepsi every sip. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we think about diet sodas as having basically no calories, being something where if you have diabetes, as he does, to help you manage it, right? So, you know, it shouldn't spike your blood sugar. And so you think, okay, diet soda, is it better than regular soda? But 30 to 40 of anything can't really be good. All right, let's explore. So we know that with diet sodas, they have artificial sweeteners. And so for the ones he was drinking, aspartame is the main artificial sweetener. So with that sweetener, it's 188 times sweeter than table sugar, yet it has essentially 0 calories. All right. So that sounds pretty good for preventing an unhealthy weight, right? So it's good for weight management, good for diabetes. It's legal. Okay. The FDA says that it's safe as long as you do it in the right quantities. So what are the issues? Okay. Here are some things that have been found in research, and the research still needs more work. Well, some studies in lab rats show that aspartame can be associated with certain cancers like leukemia, lymphoma, and also in pregnant lab rats with aspartame exposure, they showed that there was cancer to the unborn rats, okay, or the unborn mice in the studies. Also, aspartame has been associated with some GI discomfort, like some stomach issues with some people. And according to the World Health Organization, they say there's a possibility that aspartame can be associated with liver cancer. The FDA disagrees with that as of now. And according to the FDA, aspartame is safe as long as you don't overdo it. They say 50 milligrams per kilogram should be okay in a day for a person. So just to put it in perspective, if you weigh 150 pounds and you have 9 Diet Cokes or diet sodas with aspartame, according to the FDA, that should be a safe amount. Okay. And who's drinking more than the 9 sodas in a day? Apparently Fat Joe is. Listen, put in the chat, how many diet sodas do you drink in a day? And do you think that diet sodas are better than regular sodas, or is it a matter of picking your poison? Okay, so that's it for the aspartame. Again, more research needs to be done. We don't have a lot of human data as far as cancer and things of that nature. There's even been some studies showing that aspartame, especially if you eat it with high carbohydrates, can negatively affect your blood sugars. Again, we don't have a lot of really reliable data, but this is some information that's out there. So knowing that, does that change how many diet sodas you drink? Are you going to be like, bump it, let me just have table sugar? But we know that table sugar is not great either. Make sure that you check out my videos here on diabetes explained, best foods for diabetes, worst foods for diabetes. Check it right here on the Dr. Frita YouTube channel. All right. So what do you do if regular table sugar is not great for you? If aspartame is not great for you, then what can you do? Well, there's different sweeteners. Okay. Here are some that the FDA has also said are safe. Monk fruit. Okay. So monk fruit extract is a sweetener. Sucralose, that is actually 600 times sweeter than table sugar, and that's believed to be safe. There's some sugar alcohols like xylitol. I will say the sugar alcohols tend to cause stomach upset in some people, like bloating, diarrhea, things of that nature. Bottom line, you have to weigh the pros and the cons. Always consult with your doctor. 30 to 40 Diet Cokes or diet sodas or diet Pepsis, probably not a good idea. Definitely water is going to be one of your best bets. Check out my video on the Dr. Frita channel right here, benefits of drinking water. But yeah, Fat Joe, transparent as always, around here drinking 30 to 40 diet sodas a day. But yeah, tell me if this story makes you think, and knowing what you know about the different artificial sweeteners and some of the research, even though the FDA says that it's safe, is this going to change your attitude when it comes to diet sodas? So yes, how many diet sodas do you drink a day? And do you think that diet sodas are even safer than drinking regular sodas? All right. So that's it for the celebrity health news and the hot health topics and the headlines for today. Thank you for joining. If you want to talk to me for a full hour, ask me questions when we go back and forth live, then make sure you join me on Mondays, Medical Mondays with Dr. Frita at noon Eastern Standard Time. Also, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Dr.Frita. I give you different exercise videos. I give you different updates and let you know when I'm going to be on national news shows, on local news shows. And I'm always giving you evidence-based medicine so that you can advocate for yourself, share it with your loved ones, and live your healthiest, happiest life. Again, I'm Dr. Frita. Give us a like on your way out the door, and I'll talk to you next time.